Welcome to Jason's Jewels. I am your host, Jason Alexander, and we are back today with more nepotism in the house as I got my oldest stepson, Micah Satterly, in the building as we're going to finish off and close off this NBA season. As the season is now over, the Oklahoma City Thunder have been crowned the champions. And Micah, you are the biggest Knicks fan that I know. So as we close off this season, let's get started off nice and easy with how did you feel about your Knicks season this year? And what do you expect with your boys going forward as they're looking to find a new coach nowadays?
I was happy with the Eastern Conference Finals. They made it further than what I thought they would. I knew they were going to be a solid team, but the fact they got past the Celtics, that's been a goal of ours for the past couple years now, getting past the 76ers with prime Joel Embiid and now the Celtics, and, they're dominant. But now you see the Indiana Pacers. Now we got to worry about getting past the Pacers. But going forward, I'm excited for next year. Jalen Brunson is definitely getting into a rhythm, and he knows he's him. And then we were able to get Karl Anthony Towns this past season. So I'm liking the future. I just hope they're able to get more depth in the bench because, these good teams in the NBA, they have depth, and you're just not going to win a championship with a 6-man rotation. It's just not going to happen. But the future is definitely bright for them.
So, how did you feel about the Knicks getting rid of Thibodeau, man? How did that affect you? And is that something you think they did that had to be done or was the right move to make? If you had your wish list of what coach you got coming in, what coach would you want to have as the Knicks next head coach going into next season anyway? Seeing as how they ain't got one and need one still.
It was a little surprising letting Thibs go. I'm not gonna lie, but I think it was the right move because, like I just said, you're not gonna win a championship running 6-man rotation. You're just not. You're going to have to get some depth. And yeah, I'm not sure who. I'm a little surprised that they're having issues trying to find a coach because I know they've been on top of it as soon as they let Thibs go, and teams are not interested. So that's a little surprising. I even read this morning that they are talking to Don Staley about it. So,
yeah, I was going to ask how you feel about that.
I'd be okay with it. I mean, we're just in different times now. Things are changing. So I'm okay with that. Women are definitely getting into more sports, men's sports nowadays, as you see them on the sidelines in the NFL. So, and in NBA, you see women in there. So yeah, that's fine. I mean, as long as you know what you're doing, I don't care if you're a woman or a man. As long as you can win and bring the right culture to a team, I'm okay with that.
I hear you there. Dawn Staley is close to my age, so I've been watching her play and coach basketball for a very, very long time. And my personal opinion, I'm not sure. I don't know how to say this, so I won't piss people off, but I'm not sure. I've always been hesitant on how a woman can do coaching professional men. Now, at the same time, if there's a woman who can do that and be successful at it, I think it would be Dawn Staley. And I think that she would demand the respect right off the bat from all of the players, all the men, all the people in the organization. And as she's shown that she can coach at an elite level, and myself, I would love to see it. I think she'd be fine. Now, I will say this. I'm kind of surprised that with Mike Malone available, that his name has not been brought up yet as a possible coach for the New York Knicks. Because we're talking, there's not going to be many coaches out there that have the experience of being that head coach and also winning a title. And granted, he was coaching Jokic and whatnot, but he's shown that he can get the job done. So I was kind of surprised to see that we haven't seen his name mentioned. Is that a name that you would like to see possibility float as a possibility of a replacement for the Knicks coach? Or would you prefer to see somebody like Don Staley instead of Mike Malone?
I'd be okay with Mike Malone, just because he's got that experience. He's got a championship under his belt, but just how he exited with the Nuggets was just a little strange because, they obviously didn't exceed expectations with the postseason this year. But so who knows what's been going on in their locker room and what's the deal with that? Because, he was let go during the playoffs, wasn't, or once they got eliminated or something like that.
Yeah, sure enough.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that, but I would definitely like to know what was going on in the Nuggets locker room for that to happen.
Yeah,
I hear you. With Dawn Staley, I'd be okay with it. I think it's jumping the gun a little bit, offering her a head coach position just like that in the NBA. I feel like she would probably need a little more experience around men like that. But like I said, times have changed. And, if they get desperate enough and no one else is interested in being the Knicks head coach, then by all means, full throttle for Don Saley.
Right. I hear you there. All right. So moving on from the Knicks, what did you think of this NBA season this year? Was it one of the more fun seasons that you've seen? Is it one of the seasons that it's going to be easily forgettable? Like I said, the 76ers, that's one of the things I think of when I think of this season and how horrible they were. They definitely didn't live up to expectations. We're talking Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid. What were your thoughts on the 76ers and what else about this season caught your attention? And what are things that you hope to see going into next season as well?
Yeah, the 76ers were an absolute mess this year. And as a Knicks fan, I really enjoyed seeing it because, like I said, they've given us problems in the past with prime Joel Embiid. So I'm enjoying the 76ers downfall. I hate to say it, but I am. I don't know what their deal was. Like you said, Maxey, Joel Embiid, Paul George. I don't know what their deal was. They were not ready to play this season. So I guess we'll just see what happens next season.
Right.
Overall season this year, I really enjoyed it, especially the postseason. It's been probably one of the most memorable postseasons in the NBA I've seen in a while. Not only because the Knicks made it far, but Halliburton had such a legendary playoff run, and I give credit where it's due. But it's been a very memorable NBA season. I'm already excited for next season, as Cooper Flag going to the Mavs, playing with Kyrie and Anthony Davis, and they're going to be really solid. So I'm excited for next season, and it's been a good season this year too.
Right. So do you think we've seen the end of the Celtics as we know them, knowing that they got rid of Porzingis, they got rid of True Holiday? There's rumors that Jaylen Brown might be next to be moved. We already know Jason Tatum's probably not going to play at all next year. If he does play, it's going to be a short amount of time. So do you think we've seen the end of the Celtics as we know it, or do you think that this is just a pause in their path to dominance? Because they still have their core pieces right now as we speak. But again, do you think this is the end of the Celtics, or do you think that we're going to see a brand new team going forward?
I was a little surprised by the Celtics moves, because they've been one of the better teams in the NBA, one of the more dominant teams in the NBA. So with Jason Tatum going down, I was kind of surprised that they're blowing up the team as they are. So I think for the next couple years, we're done with the Celtics, but just historically, I mean, they have championships, they have a winning culture, they will be back. Whether it's the same core or not, they will be back as the Celtics and will be dominant again. But only time will tell when that will happen. But this next year or two, they're going to definitely be struggling.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to be interesting to see what they do next year. And if they get rid of Jaylen Brown, then, man, I tell you what, man, that'll be one of the more, I hate to use the word weird in this aspect, but knowing what they have and knowing what they could have, I get that they're going to just absolutely obliterate the luxury tax, trying to pay out all this money to all these players. But at the same time, they knew what they were doing when they offered all this money to these players and when the players took the money. So from that aspect, it's going to be weird to see the Celtics blow themselves up the way they are blowing themselves up and then try to keep playing the way they were playing. I just don't see that being something that they're going to be able to keep up with. But moving on from the Celtics, as a Lakers guy, have you seen, because I'm a big Lakers guy, have you seen the clips of Luka and him slimming up and losing weight? Do you believe the hype on Luka finally getting his body right so he can lead teams to where they need to lead? Or do you think this is just more of the same old, where they're showing dudes in the offseason and everybody's offseason tape shows how good they're going to be? Do you think Luka is ready to go to the next level, or do you think he's just going to stay the same Luka that he's always been, where he's been, I don't want to say fat, but he's been out of shape and been a traffic cone on defense? Do you think Luka's got it in him to take that next step and go to the next level?
I think it's a great sign that Luka's been losing weight because he was the face of the Mavericks. So with him going to the Lakers, he's in a different culture. He's in a different setting now. So that probably has given him a different mindset as well. You bring in a factor with LeBron James, the best athlete in the world, who's on his team as well. I'm sure LeBron has given him some very helpful tips on diet and what to do and all of that. So I think it's a great sign for Luka and the Lakers that he's losing weight. We've seen what Fat Luka can do, and he's dominant. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine him, slimming back down to his rookie sophomore season, and the Lakers will be a problem. When LeBron James gets older and he's not playing anymore, and it's Luka's team. I think the Lakers. It's a great sign for the Lakers with Luka losing weight.
All right, all right. So staying on the topic of the Lakers and LeBron, do you think LeBron James is the greatest player to ever play the game of basketball? Or let me rephrase it. Is he the greatest player that you've ever seen?
I'd say he's the greatest player I've ever seen, just because I was just too young for Michael Jordan. So maybe if I was a little born in the 80s, maybe I would say Michael Jordan, just where I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. I would have to say LeBron, just because I've never seen an athlete like as dominant as he is. So I would say LeBron is the greatest in my lifetime.
All right. That's
just
fair.
my own opinion.
That's fair. I mean, I think Kobe's better than LeBron, but we don't have to get into that now.
Yeah, we can talk about that another time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
but I got mad respect for Kobe, though, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. LeBron James, by far, is one of the best athletes that I've ever seen. He's probably the best athlete I've ever seen play NBA basketball. This, to me, that's just undeniable. I think that we have not seen anybody who is built like him, move like him, and we haven't seen anybody who's built like him and can move like him, play like him. Normally, back in the past, when you had guys that were as athletic as he was, they were one-trick ponies. You know what I'm saying? They might be able to play above the rim and be unstoppable in the paint, but they probably couldn't shoot. I'm not going to sit here and say LeBron James and Steph Curry or anything like that, but we know that man can shoot the ball. And when he needs to hit the shot, he can hit the shot. He can hit threes. He can hit mid-range. He can do this, that, and the other. So it doesn't really bother me when folks say LeBron James is the best player to ever play. I don't, it's just not for me, but I got a chance to see Jordan, like you alluded to. I got a chance to watch Michael Jordan. And it's always weird to me when guys my age say LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan, because that's when I had to ask, what exactly were you watching? Because I know what I saw with Michael Jordan, and I know what I'm seeing with LeBron James. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. LeBron James absolutely lived up to every expectation that was placed before him. But at the same time, I feel like he could have been even better than what he was. And for me, that's always going to be why I don't have him ranked as high as other folks, is because even though he did live up to those expectations, I expected more. And I know he could deliver more, and he just didn't. But he also had to go up against Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, who's arguably one of the greater teams or greater dynasties of all time. So I'm not going to front on that. But, I did have to get that off my chest since we were talking about LeBron. I can't help it sometimes. But
I understand. And he's known to be like a drama queen too. I mean, you see him on the sidelines, and and the latter part of his career, you see it's been harder for him to find teammates because people are realizing that he's also the coach. So you're on the court with him, and then he's also just pretty much taking over the head coach role, which makes you a kind of a hard teammate to play with. Mm-hmm. But if you just look at the earlier teams he took, he just had that grit and grind. Because if you look at the Cavaliers rosters with the teams that he was taking to the finals, it's ridiculous. But I mean, Kobe was doing the same thing. He took a few teams when he didn't have Shaq no more. He took them pretty far too. So I can definitely see Kobe in the argument of being the greatest ever. But I would say LeBron also being the head coach and having a lot to say, that has definitely impacted his legacy a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And he can't help himself. So, it's gonna be what it's gonna be when it comes to LeBron. I've always enjoyed him. He's always been entertaining. I'll always remember where we were when we were in Myrtle Beach back in 2007 or 2008. It was when they were taking on the Pistons, and he scored 25 points in a row. That's one of those moments I'm always going to remember. Like I said, I'm always going to remember where I was. So I'm not going to sit here and act like LeBron hasn't made memorable moments throughout his career. It's just that, LeBron is who he is, the drama queen. You know what you're going to get. You know what you're getting into when you step into the ring with LeBron. It's like the Lakers right now, they're going through the whole thing of LeBron re-signing for $53 million, signing his player option and this, that, and the other. And, I've said it before, and I say it again. As a Lakers fan, I look forward to the day when LeBron James is no longer on the Lakers, so the Lakers can move on as an organization. Because right now they belong to LeBron, and as long as they belong to LeBron, they're gonna do what LeBron wants them to do. And folks can admit that and not admit that, but at the end of the day, it's a fact of the matter. As long as they're catering to LeBron, it's going to be LeBron's team. And me, myself, I'm just looking forward to when it becomes Luka Doncic's team, because to me, Luka is just that guy. If the Lakers are going to look forward, if the Lakers are going to look to the future, it has to be putting the ball in Luka's hands and not necessarily LeBron's hands. What about all these Achilles injuries, man? What's your take on these Achilles injuries? Do you think it's the shoes? Do you think the season's too long? Do you think the players just aren't training the way they used to train back in the day? Personally, I think it's a combination of all of them factors, but I'm curious as to what other folks think, and I was wondering what your take might be on it, because it's becoming a conversation. You know, we watched it with Halliburton, we watched it with Jason Tatum, we watched it with Dame Lillard, and all three of them happened in the playoffs. And we're talking about three guys that, whether folks want to admit it or not, they're either superstars or right there at that superstar level. And the NBA as a whole cannot have their players getting hurt the way they're getting hurt. So what's your take on that? Do you think it's the low-cut shoes? Do you think the season's too long? Or do you think the players simply just aren't taking care of their bodies the way that they used to take care of their bodies back?
I agree with everything. It's all of those factors. And as much as I love the NBA, I feel like they could use maybe a 10 game shorter schedule, because the number one factor for NBA is overuse. So these players are, working hard and they're being overused a little bit, especially if you're the best player on the team, you're going to get minutes. So overuse is a big factor. Low cut shoes are also a big factor. High tops are heavy shoes. I don't know how Jordan used to hoop in his shoes back in the day, because they are super heavy. LeBron James used to have super heavy shoes. Low tops are just the style, and I feel like they are going into it willing to risk a sprained ankle, because you look good, you play good. So I feel like they're willing to risk just a little sprained ankle, but they're also not taking into considerations of an Achilles injury or anything like that. So I feel like they could benefit from maybe a little bit of a shorter schedule. I don't know if they really need 82 games to separate themselves from the pack and the seeding. So, maybe 70 games, 75, just a little shorter, just to reduce that ability. But yeah, I think it's definitely also low tops, because Damian Lillard has lows and mids, and Jason Tatum's got low tops, and then Halliburton's got some mids too. But on top of them, James Wiseman, Isaiah Jackson, and DeJounte Murray also had Achilles injuries too. And Isaiah Jackson on the Pacers, he could have really helped them out too, because he would have just added more depth into their deep bench already. So it's definitely all of those factors playing, having a reason to these Achilles injuries.
Right. I wouldn't mind seeing the season get shortened, namely because 82 games is a lot. And when we look at what people say about the regular season, a lot of people don't watch the regular season the way they watch the playoffs. And I know I'm not big on ratings. I really don't care about the ratings, who's watching this, that, and the other. But if the NBA as a business wants to get the casual fan engaged more than what the casual fan has been engaged, then they probably need to look into shortening the season to make the games more meaningful. Because that's one of the complaints that I hear a lot, is that the games don't mean shit. And I think the last thing you want to do is set up a situation where it's like college football, where a lot of stuff doesn't matter in the regular season. It only matters what happens when you get to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So I think that shortening the season is definitely a good idea. I don't know that I've always bought into the argument about the shoes, because I know the shoes that from back in the day, that like shoes I had to play in, them shoes were horrible, but they still weren't the same as the shoe. The technology of the shoe has advanced so far to where it is now. I would think that even with low cut shoes, I would think them shoes are still better. So I lean more towards the athletes not taking care of their bodies the way they used to. Now, I can't prove none of that, and it's all just a gut feeling. And truthfully, I'm stealing that from man, I can't even remember who said it. Somebody said it the other day. I can't remember who it was, but I saw it on Twitter, and they were talking about how the athletes don't train the way they used to train. And when you look at somebody like LeBron James, and I know we mentioned him earlier, there's rumors that this man spends anywhere from $1 to $3 million on his body every year, and he never has the injuries that we see other folks having. And that's been a testament to his greatness, that he's been able to play as long as he's been able to play at the level he's been able to play at. But a lot of that goes into him taking care of his body. If he's putting that kind of money into his body, and we know these other guys got that same amount of money, until they start to take care of their body the same way that LeBron is taking care of his body, I think we're going to see those injuries. I don't want to say take off to another level, but we'll continue to see a lot of those same injuries where guys end up missing a big amount of time. Now, transitioning from injuries, Kevin Durant had an Achilles injury. And when you look at his stats, he's actually been better, a little bit better after his Achilles injury than he was before, which is crazy to say because we all know how good KD has been. So with KD going to the Rockets now with this most recent trade, how do you feel that's gonna help the Rockets? And does this help or hurt KD's legacy for you, knowing that he's gone from team to team, pretty much? I hate to say ring chasing, because in this situation, I don't think that KD is ring chasing, but I do think he makes Houston better. But I was wondering your thoughts on that. Do you think that KD is still ring chasing? Does this hurt his legacy? And how do you think that he is going to affect the Houston Rockets next year?
No, I don't think KD going to the Rockets has hurt his legacy. I think he hurt his legacy when he left for the Warriors. But I think it is going to be I think it was a good trade for the Rockets because obviously Kevin Durant is one of the best scorers the league has ever seen. Any team would be happy to have Kevin Durant. I was a little surprised seeing teams such as the Knicks and the Heat kind of straying away from interest in Kevin Durant because I'd be more than happy to have him on my team whether he hurt his legacy or not because he's going to win, he's going to score, he's a great player. So I think it was a good trade for the Rockets. They definitely won getting rid of Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks and some draft picks. Now, on the other hand, the Suns, now they're going to have another terrible year this year. They're full of guards. They don't know what they're doing. It's going to be a mess. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the bottom of the West again, bottom 3 or so. But Kevin Durant, he's going to be fine. And he's got Twitter fingers. He clearly doesn't care about if his legacy is affected or not. So he's gonna be him. So I think it was a win for the Rockets, and they're gonna be interesting to watch this season, especially they took the Warriors to 7 games this season in the playoffs with the core that they had already. So Kevin Durant in the mix, I think they're gonna be a problem.
Right. Yeah, he definitely does have Twitter fingers. I ain't gonna lie, that's one of the things I love most about Kevin Durant. He really don't give a shit. If he's got something to say, if he sees you say it on there, he's gonna come at you. I saw somebody say, "What do you do? Search your name and just look for people to debate?" And he said, "Yeah, I do. So what?" And I was like, "Man, that's what I love. I love the just the genuine behavior on his part." He's like, "Yeah, I do it. So what? Yeah, I searched my name on Twitter. Yeah, I'm gonna come at you if you say something stupid." So I love that about Kevin Durant. Now, I agree with you. I think it's going to help out the Rockets a ton because they're actually going to have that closer now. And you were at the same game as I was. I became a Jalen Green fan when we went down to Atlanta and we watched that man do. I don't even know what kind of dunk that was. I mean, it was like a 180 tomahawk windmill. And I ain't never seen no shit like that. And seeing it live, I was like, all right, I like his cat a lot. So I kind of hated to see Jalen Green get traded. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do because he's going to have a little bit more leeway down there in Phoenix because it's really just going to be him and Devin Booker. And I know they got my guy Tyus Jones down there, but they still they don't use him right, so they really don't play with a point guard. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out with Devin Booker and Jalen Green. But much like you said, I think they're going to be in the bottom of the West next year. I don't expect them to be. I think their ceiling would be, without making any more trades, I think their ceiling would be to make the play-in games. And I really don't see them doing all that right now, not with what they have in the makeup of that team. And it's kind of unfortunate because they got that billionaire down there who's got a bankroll full of money. It's like, man, if I was a billionaire and I had my NBA team, I'd be having a shitload of fun right now. I would be going after guys that I probably shouldn't be going after. And maybe that's a fantasy basketball mentality. But when you can do that with real players and real teams, you would think that they would be doing a whole lot more than what they are. But I guess we'll have to sit back and wait and see what the Phoenix Suns do and how they, I guess, recover from losing KD. Because, I mean, Bradley Beal, as good as he's been in the past, he's just not that guy no more. And it's clear that he's just going to collect that check and go home to his family. And I ain't mad at him for that. $60 million a year, whatever, man. You do what you got to do. But it kind of sucks on Phoenix's part because they need Bradley Beal to be the guy that he was 5 years ago. And we know that he's not going to be that guy. But what about Anthony Simmons to the Celtics? How you feeling about that trade? And I know that they got rid of Drew Holiday and they got rid of Porzingis. And as of now, they still have Jaylen Brown. Do you think Anthony Simons going to the Celtics is going to be a good move for the Celtics? Or do you think it's just another fork in the road for them, so to say, as they try to figure out what they do with this so-called dynasty that they were supposed to have been building in Boston?
Yeah, I think it was a good move for the Celtics, especially with all the pieces that they've moved so far. Anthony Simons is a bucket. He can score 30 when he wants to. So I think it was a great move for them. Him and Shadon Sharp, they were a pretty good duo out in
Mhm.
Portland. So I don't know. I feel like it was definitely a Trailblazers loss compared to a Celtics win. So I think he's definitely going to make a big difference for the Celtics. It was a good pickup by them, like I said, with all the pieces they've already moved. So at least that's a small bright spot for them right now is Anthony Simons.
Right. All right. So we'll move on to the NBA draft. I'm gonna be honest. This draft class was not as weak as last year's draft class, but at the same time, I still really didn't follow the draft a whole lot after probably actually I'm gonna be honest, after Malawach got drafted, I really quit paying attention. I wanted to see where the Dukes were gonna end up. And granted, Duke sent all 5 guys to the NBA, or the 5 starters, all 5 of them got drafted. And we'll touch on Duke here in a little bit because I got my gripes about Duke. But before we get to that, the Ace Bailey situation. So there's been a lot of talk about Ace Bailey and how him and his camp handled this situation of him being drafted by Utah when he made it clear from the jump that there were teams that he wasn't going to play for. So what are your thoughts on the Ace Bailey situation? Should he be grateful that he got drafted, or is he correct in trying to know his worth and bully his way into a position that suits him?
Ace Bailey is 100% wrong. He's ungrateful. He's not going to be able to bully his way into it because he's not proven himself to be able to be a bully. With this new college rules with NIL and being able to transfer and play immediately instead of needing to sit out, it's got college kids spoiled and their mentality has changed. And as you can see, he's obviously has bad guidance from the people around him too. And if the old rules were still in place to where there was no NIL and you had to sit out when you transferred, it'd be a completely different situation.
Mm-hmm.
I blame NIL and being able to transfer in college for the reason why he's acting like this with the Utah Jazz. He's not proven himself. College and NBA is 2 different animals. So he's not proven himself to be able to make that sort of decision on where he wants to go play. I don't understand why he doesn't want to go to Utah, one of the worst teams in the league, and be that guy that can score 25 plus points to get them back on the map. Then what does he want to do? Where does he want to go? Does he want to go be just a role player? I don't understand why he doesn't want to be that main guy to turn the franchise around. So I think he's very ungrateful for not wanting to give the Jazz the time of day to make them a better organization.
All right. Yeah, and you touched on a good point where you said that the NIL is making these college athletes a little bit more entitled, a little bit more spoiled than what we're accustomed to seeing. And I think that is 100% correct. Now, I will admit that I love the new mentality and I love the chaos that it brings to professional sports because I like seeing it get shook up a little bit. I think a lot of these owners have a mentality as to where they feel like they don't need to listen to the players and whatnot. So I kind of like the fact that he's going against the grain and saying, you know what, I don't want to go there and I don't want to do that and I don't have to because I got money in the bank. And so I kind of like that mentality. But what you said again is 100% correct. If we're not talking about the NIL, and if we're not dealing with the NIL, and if we're not dealing with the transfer portal where guys can just move to a situation where they want to, it would be an entirely different situation. I look at what Malawach was. I look at his reaction. He was crying when he got drafted, and
that's how it needs to be.
Yeah, and
he get drafted, whether you're the last pick or you're the first pick. Like you need to have that reaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go to the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's always refreshing to see because here's a guy that gets it and he's grateful to be in the situation that he's in. At the same time, his life was a whole lot different than Ace Bailey's. So his hardships and things that he had to go through to get to where he's at is going to hit home a little bit harder for him. Somebody like Ace Bailey has been a superstar since he's been 10, 11, 12 years old. And nobody's ever told him no. And it's clear that nobody in his camp has never told him no. It's always been catered to what he wants and to what he feels he needs. So I think in that aspect, he needs to be humble and needs to be brought down a peg from where he's at right now because he's clearly on a pedestal and he hasn't proven as to why he should be on that pedestal. Just because he's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft does not mean you should be on a pedestal way up above everyone else. And I think maybe in time, if it goes, he'll show his worth. The one conversation we're going to have before we get out of here today. Now, to the folks that don't know, we are a Duke Blue Devil household. We're all Duke Blue Devil fans here in this house. Well, let's say in the house that we had when the kids were growing up. So our whole family is all Duke Blue Devil basketball fans. Now, one thing I've had to come to grips with as a Duke Blue Devil fan now is that I feel John Shire is John Calipari 2.0. I feel like he is going to continue to bring in the best recruits that are out there, to be quite honest. I think that he's the best recruiter in college basketball. And I don't think I don't think that's debatable at this point. However, I do feel like the Duke Blue Devils are in the same situation that the UK Wildcats were in when John Calipari was the coach, in that they will always have high quality talent, but they're not going to always get the results that are expected. So, as a Duke fan, do you agree with that assessment that I have? And do you think that I am wrong and that he is going to produce multiple national championships along the way while he's coaching? Because I can guarantee you one thing, John Shire is going to be there a very, very long time, because there's never going to be a reason to fire that man. They're always going to be good. But for me, I want to see titles. Do you think that John Shire is capable of bringing in titles, or will Duke always just have to be will they just have to accept the fact they'll be perennial contenders, and every now and then they might sneak one in?
I partially agree with you, but I do believe they're going to bring in a few national titles. I think he is going to be better than Coach Calipari, because I don't see John Shire losing in the NIT. I don't see him losing to St. Peter's and all these other teams. I just don't see that happening at all. Coach K definitely took him under his wing, so he's had a great mentor. He knows what to do. Now, that game against Houston was definitely one of the worst choke jobs I've probably ever seen. Hopefully, I don't want to say hopefully, I'm going to say luckily, because I don't believe that's going to happen again. Now, will he get back-to-back championships or back-to-back-to-back? I don't know. Only time will tell, because the game's changing. Players are evolving, getting better. It's definitely hard to win one championship, much less back-to-back. But I think he definitely has a chance to win multiple championships at Duke and be a better coach than Calipari. Calipari is known to choke games, late games, and I just don't see that happening with John Shire. I'm sure that same night he's already studying on how to not let that happen again, and I think the results will show. I don't believe he's going to have another choke job like that at all. And yes, he's going to be a better coach than John Calipari.
All right. I hope he's a better coach than Calipari. I see a lot of parallels right now. Now, I think that's probably what's the frightening part for me. And I say frightening, I probably shouldn't say frightening, because Calipari, we talk about that man and we shit on that man. But at the end of the day, Calipari is a good coach. I think people kind of like my thing with LeBron. I think people had expectations for Calipari that he never lived up to. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that he wasn't a good coach. So maybe on my part, I should probably calm down on the rhetoric that he's Calipari 2.0. But at the same time, I can't help but see a lot of this. I can't help but see a lot of the same similarities. And maybe as a Duke fan, I should probably calm down a little bit. Maybe I should probably be a little bit more accepting of how things have changed and whatnot. I probably need less of that get off my lawn mentality, because college basketball has changed and it's not going back to what I want it to be. It's not going back to what I expect it to be. And that's from somebody who likes the NIL and the transfer portal. The game has just changed. The game of basketball has changed. For whether people like that or not, if you love the game of basketball, you're still going to enjoy what you watch. And I still do enjoy what I watch. I'll probably calm down a little bit on the rhetoric going forward. But I definitely do see the parallels and the similarities that when it comes to these two guys, there's a lot, because Shire's going, like I said, he's going to keep bringing in the top recruits, just like Calipari did. And there's going to be moments where Shire comes up short, like he did in 2025, like Calipari did 2015. Granted, Duke won it in 2015 and were able to complete the job. But in 2025, like you said, that's one of the bigger choke jobs that I've seen when Duke played Houston. Man, that was just bad. It was just really bad. It was one of those moments where it's like, man, I hate to be right. I don't want to be right about John Shire. I want to be wrong. And I think I need to make that clear. I don't want him to be Calipari 2.0 for the sake of me being right. I want John Shire to exceed Coach K. I want John Shire to win 6 titles. My complaint is I'm just not seeing it just yet. And maybe, like I said, that's something I need to have a little bit more patience with. But I did want to get your your take on that, because I know y'all hear me all the time. You and Baby J, I know y'all always hear me talking about how much he's Calipari 2.0 and how much it pisses me off. So I definitely wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, and like you said, you see similarities in them because I'm also being a little biased because I'm a Duke fan, but you mentioned the similarities between them because they are great coaches. John Calipari is a great coach, so you're going to see similarities in great coaches too. I just wanted to add that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And also, Coach K was at Duke for 42 years, so John Shire's in his third or fourth year, has already taken to the Final Four a couple times, and 42 years to coach at one school is a long time.
But before we go, so we've talked a little bit about the NBA, talked a little bit about Duke and John Shire and them and whatnot. So before we go, the Oklahoma City Thunder are our NBA champions this year. Baby J will be on cloud nine for at least a year anyway. What are your thoughts on Oklahoma City? And do you think they are a dynasty in the making with their young core and their draft picks and everything they got looking for their future going ahead? Do you think Oklahoma City is going to be the team that everybody's going to have to beat?
So Baby J, yeah, he's going to be on cloud nine, and also with the Eagles winning it all this year,
And
I
I
can't
didn't even think about that.
can't believe it. I've never met anyone with their two favorite teams winning championships. Yeah, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, they are definitely a dynasty. SGA is definitely one of a kind. He's one of one. You know, people talk about him being a free throw merchant. Well, guard him. Stop letting him get to the free throw line. You need to guard him, keep him in front of you. Yeah, I mean, he's going to get a call or two, but everybody's going to get a call or two. So just think teams need to find a way to guard him if you don't want him to go to the foul line. But I mean,
Right.
he's a great scorer. So, but yeah, they have a great team. They're definitely a dynasty. They could definitely win it again next year. So yeah, they're a tough team. I think outcome may have been different if Halliburton didn't get hurt. He was 3 or 4 to start the game, and then he got hurt in the first quarter, or beginning of second quarter or something. So he was definitely about to have a crazy game before that injury happened. So who knows what the outcome would have been, but that didn't happen. The fact is the Thunder won. That's the way it is. But yeah, they're going to be problems. They're going to be problems for a lot of teams the next coming years if they all stay healthy and they all stay together. Yeah, I was just going to say with him with SGA going to the foul line, I was going to say you've seen it with James Harden when he came off his MVP season. You think about how many times he went to the foul line that year. Then all of a sudden the next year he stopped getting calls. So I guess we'll see how the league also handles teams guarding SGA next season.
Yeah, it's absolutely a good point, because we know one thing: the NBA, they listen to what folks have to say and they adjust on the fly. So that's a damn good point right there. They could tell the referees quit doing all that and make them earn it a little bit more. So be something to keep an eye on for sure, because they definitely changed the rules when James Harden was capitalizing off of that.
Yeah.
So I can see it happen again. Yeah. But folks, we're gonna go on and get off of here. Micah, hey man, thanks for coming on. Definitely gonna have you back on here again. I've been planning I want to do a show where I got you and Baby J on here, but we'll have to make sure we do it when Riverside is actually acting like the way it's supposed to act. So I apologize for the technical difficulties that it had throughout it here, but I'll get it down. I'll make sure that it still gives us a nice, pretty product. But again, thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time. Is there anything you want to say to the folks before you bail out of here?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Definitely got to do it again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is Jason's Jules. Thank you all for listening and tuning in, and we will catch you on the rebound. Y'all be easy. Peace.